here in the studio with Senior Communications Officer from Arts Queensland, John Adams. Welcome, John. It's lovely to have you in the studio today.
Thanks, Emma. Nice to be here.
Yeah, excellent. So, John, tell me, what exactly does your role with the Queensland Government entail?
As a digital communications officer, my responsibility ranges from looking after their social media assets, including Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, and as well as that, I look after Arts Queensland's online TV production unit.
And you have a very interesting career that spanned 3 decades in Australia. Tell me, you began with Chichi Deluxe in the city. What was this about?
Chichi Deluxe started in 1984, and it was the idea behind it was that it would be a commercial vehicle to provide a revenue stream for all of our creative projects. At the end of the day, the vehicle became the art form rather than becoming the financial driving engine which it was supposed to be. But it enabled us to enter into architecture, design, interior design, music. And we had our own dance company called the Chichi Groove Crew. We delivered over 60 performances and employed over 150 aspiring artists, models, performers, and so on.
So you came to Australia and moved directly into the arts scene. I've heard that while you were in New Zealand, you had a bit of a rock and roll experience. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I did actually tour bands and worked with the guys who became probably better known with the Swingers, Phil Judd, and also with Neil Finn, of course, with Crowded House fame. One very little known fact, which I don't tell everybody, I might add, is the very first band that Neil Finn had was actually a band called the House Rockerz, which featured myself, Neil, and a guy called Roddy Murdoch. Sadly, it only lasted 10 weeks, and then Neil discovered, in fact, I wasn't a musician.
What a shame. Who knows what could have come of that. So after Chichi's Deluxe, you moved to an art gallery called the House of Whack. What was the House of Whack?
The House of Whack was probably was Australia's very first, well, actually no, I correct myself, was the second gallery specialising in what was known as lowbrow or pop surrealism. And we actually feature primarily on American artists because the lowbrow or new style pop surrealism movement actually comes out of the west coast of America. It's lowbrow has gone from being underground to being mainstream, and in fact one of the founders or one of the people recognised as the founding members of the kind of lowbrow movement is a guy called Robert Williams, who's now probably in his 60s. But he was working with people like Ed Roth, Robert Crumb, the cartoonist, and Zap Comics back in the 60s and early 70s. They've all now gone on to become quite prolific and well-known artists. And amongst the artists we exhibited during our first show was Shepard Fairey, of course, who's best known now for his iconic image of Barack Obama, which appeared on the cover of Time.
And I think you still have a bit of a stash of a lot of these artworks at the moment that you're considering putting on exhibition again soon?
That's correct. Yeah, like all galleries, are very hard to actually maintain commercially. So I do have a reasonable collection of art, which I don't mind because I get to enjoy it. But on the flip side, yeah, we're going to have an exhibition at the Design College of Australia here in Brisbane later on this year, where we're going to be putting together 2 shows, one of Pin-Up, which features Biddy Page, and also a lowbrow and pop surrealism show.
And centred from the House of Whack, there was a show called the Brisbane Culture Show that ran for a very short amount of time, kind of similar to our show actually. What were your experiences with the Brisbane Culture Show centred from the House of Whack?
They came down to the gallery on a couple of occasions, and they were very good to us actually. They were very kind to us. And the spin-off from that was the most unlikely visit from an accountant who was staying in Brisbane and just happened to tune into Bris 31 in his hotel room and saw it, jumped in a taxi, came down, and it was his birthday, and he had never ever stepped into an art gallery in his life before, and spent $4,000 with us, which was fantastic.
Perfect. We need to draw more accountants into the art galleries, it seems. So since the House of Whack, you've changed your career direction in alignment with what's been happening in digital media and shifts in the creative industries. So what exactly are you working on at the moment with Arts Queensland?
Outside of my daily rituals of looking after Facebook, Twitter and so on, we produce short video vignettes on artists, not necessarily artists that Arts Queensland has funded, but just interesting and emerging artists particularly. We've worked with Claire Marshall, who's a Brisbane choreographer, who's probably better known for her work with people like Living End and John Steele and so on. She makes music clips. We're about to do one on Anthony Lister, who's a Brisbane artist, whose star is definitely rising. For those who haven't heard of Anthony Lister, he started off doing Brisbane City Council traffic boxes, and he's now just recently was named in the top 10 most influential artists in the world, and in fact just last week flew out to both Berlin and England to participate in shows with the absolute creme de la creme of the emerging street arts. And people like Banksy, Jean Basquiat, Futura, these are names that are embedded in as iconic names. They run along, and there's Anthony Lister with them. So yeah, he's definitely somebody to watch in the future.
Yeah, there's quite a quirky little story about one of Anthony Lister's works being accidentally removed from a wall. Can you tell me this?
Yes. Well, Brisbane City Council, in their fight against graffiti, an overzealous patron advised them that there was graffiti that had been put up on this wall. So they sent a squad of painters around there with whitewash and rollers and proceeded to eradicate it. And in fact, they had removed all of it, bar about a square metre, before the owner kind of came outside, saw what they were doing, and told them that they'd in fact just rolled it over a major artwork which they had actually paid for and commissioned and were on private property. This event went global. It was on news all over the world, it was on TV and so on. Well, Anthony, in a very, I thought it was hilarious tongue-in-cheek, he went back and actually produced a stencil of himself with a roller and a brush and a pot of paint, rolling over his own artwork, which was a nice little statement. But, yeah, the council haven't lived that one down yet.
So what other interesting videos are you working on at the moment?
We're actually going to do the Empire Theatre in Toowoomba.
Ah, yes, for the festival, the Century of Cinema Festival.
That's correct. They have they turned 100 last weekend. Oh, that was in the end of June. But the most important thing that's happening there is that they have produced a play, which is the first scripted work out of the Empire Theatre, and it's been picked up and it's actually going on tour nationally. So there's quite a lot happening out of the Empire Theatre.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting at the moment up there. Are they performing other plays up there as well?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they've got a very, very wide repertoire of works they do, but they've got a fairly new creative director who's also a writer as well. So they are nurturing a lot of talent out there, and it's surprising just if you scratch below the surface in these small towns, you actually find and discover there's a wealth of talent out there.
Yeah. I think one thing that our viewers in particular would be interested to hear from you, John, is how in the changing market of digital media, artists can capitalise in the current climate?
I think digital media offers a, apart from being a new platform, it provides accessibility and affordability to artists. And there are things you can do within the social media or in the digital platform that you could never ever do on your own. And I think it provides autonomy. I mean, I like to think of social media as a, somebody says, what is social media? And I say it's a socialisation of media. And in fact, it's actually quite subversive, because in fact, it actually takes power out of the media corporates. And if you actually look at social media and digital technology these days, news and information actually is spread laterally rather than directly from large corporations. So the whole power shift has occurred. And in fact, if you look at blogs, there are a lot of arts bloggers who have readerships way in excess of the most popular writers for the major mastheads like the New York Times and so on. There are artists who have followers running into hundreds of thousands. So I mean, these are kind of shifts in paradigm of the way artists have actually conducted themselves, the channels they've used in the past, and I think it actually provides. It's an equaliser. I mean, everybody who has access to digital media has the same capacity and the same opportunity. So you're not relying on a gallery now to appoint you. You're not relying on an agent to actually seek you out. You can actually go out there on your own and deliver your art to the world.
Through entrepreneurial website design, among other digital media. So you're saying this shift in power dynamic in creative industries has provided a market whereby artists are quite liberated to make money from their creative expression. How do you think this power shift will affect the future of creative industries?
I actually think I'm very optimistic, very, very optimistic, and I think the biggest change will be, as I said, it's a democratisation of the media. And that is, a lot of people don't quite grasp that, or they don't understand the power behind it. And once you actually recognise that this shift has occurred, then the opportunity to monetise a website is available. I mean, that's something else. The biggest problem facing artists is, how do I make a living? And that is something which is one of my little hobby horses. In fact, is I believe that artists, it's great. You pursue your art, but unless you actually want to work as a waiter or a barman for the rest of your life, you have to start actually recognising that art is an industry. And this is the biggest hole in our arts education. We teach people how to dance, we teach them how to perform, we teach them how to sing or to draw, but we never tell them how to actually capitalise and monetise those skills.
That's something that we should definitely look into in future education in arts, I think.
Yes.
We've run out of time, actually, John, but it's been such a pleasure to have you here today. And all the best for whatever projects you embark on from here on out.
Thanks very, very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
And that's about what we've got time for today, isn't it, Emma?
No, we've got loads left, Ginny. I've still got my 4-hour lecture on whether the stringy bits and bananas cause leprosy.
I'm afraid that we had to rethink that idea. I thought that it might be better suited for a different audience.
Well, if you think you're tying me to a chair is going to stop me from giving my lecture, you're very much mistaken, my dear.
As I was saying, viewers, that's all we have time for today. And it's goodbye from Emma.